Welcome to Thursday's guided reading time. Today's story is called The Old Woman Who Lived in a Vinegar Bottle. Okay, read after me. The Old Woman Who Lived in a Vinegar Bottle. Once upon a time, a good fairy saw a vinegar bottle. It had a door, some windows, and a chimney. The fairy stopped to look at it. Just then the door opened and an old woman came out. The old woman said to the fairy, "This vinegar bottle is my home, but I don't like it at all. I wish I had a house." I'm going to share my reading rainbow with you. And we're going to think about the main theme in this story. Can you think of some other stories with a similar theme to this story? Start your sentence with other stories with a similar theme are, I'll say that again, other stories with a similar theme are, pause the video and have a think. Tell me your answer. I could think of other stories with a similar theme are A Squash and a Squeeze, where the old lady wants a bigger house, but then she brings all the animals into her house. And the other one that I thought of is not really a story, it's a nursery rhyme. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe, who had so many children she didn't know what to do. Lived in a little shoe all full of too many children to make the house big enough. So those two stories reminded me of stories with a similar theme. Let's carry on our reading. Read after me. "I can help you," said the fairy. "You can have your wish. Walk down the road and you will see a little house. So the old woman walked down the road. Then she saw the little house. She opened the door and went in. Then the fairy flew to the house. "Old woman," she called, "I gave you your wish. Now what must you say to me?" I wonder what's going to happen next. So on our reading rainbow, we're going to explore making a prediction today. So she's got a little house, which is what she wished for. But what do we predict will happen next? We predict that if it's like a squash and a squeeze, I predict that the old woman won't be happy with a little house. She'll want something else from the fairy. Let's see what happens next. The old woman came out, but she did not look happy. "This house is too little," she said. "I want a big house." "So you want a big house, do you?" said the fairy. You can have your wish. Walk on down the road and you will see a big house. So the old woman walked on down the road. Then she saw the big house. She opened the door and went in. Then the fairy flew to the house. Old woman, she called, I gave you your wish. Now what must you say to me? I think the fairy wants her to say thank you. But what do we think the old woman will do next? Use that sentence starter. I predict that. Pause the video and have a think and tell me your answer. I think you're right. I also predict that the old woman will still want something else, a bigger house, maybe a palace or a mansion. Let's see what happens. The old woman came out, but she did not look happy. I don't want a house now, she said. I want a castle. So you want a castle, do you? Said the fairy. You can have your wish. Walk on down the road and you will see a castle. The old woman walked on down the road and saw the castle. Now I am happy, she said. Good, said the fairy. Now, what must you say to me? But the old woman would not say it. The fairy was very cross. I gave you a little house. Then I gave you a big house. Then I gave you a castle. But you have not said thank you. What do you think will happen now? That fairy's very cross, isn't she? Have a think. Start your sentence with, I predict that. Pause the video and tell me your answer. I think that the fairy might take everything away from the old lady. She might not have anywhere to live. Let's see what happens. So the fairy made the old woman go home to her vinegar bottle. Well, I think she got what she deserved, really, didn't she? To finish off our story time today, our guided reading time today, on our Reading Rainbow, we're going to have a look at your personal opinions. What did you like or didn't like about this story? Pause the video and have a think. You can tell me one or both of those things. Pause the video and tell me your answer. I liked how the story followed a pattern. A little house, then a big house, then a castle, then back to the beginning again with just a vinegar bottle. I didn't like how the old woman behaved. She wasn't very kind or polite to the fairy, was she? I'll see you soon for some more guided reading. Goodbye.